All right, here's a goodie. Quote, "The truth unquestionably is that the only path to a subversion of the Republican system of the country is by flattering the prejudice of the people and exciting their jealousies and apprehensions, to throw affairs into confusion and bring on civil commotion. Tired at length of anarchy or want of government, they may take shelter in the arms of monarchy for repose and security. Those then who resist a confirmation of public order are the true artificers of monarchy. Not that this is the intention of the generality of them, yet it would not be difficult to lay the finger upon some of their party who may justly be suspected. When a man unprincipled in private life, desperate in his fortune, bold in his temper, possessed of considerable talents, having the advantage of military habits, despotic in his ordinary demeanor, known to have scoffed in private at the principles of liberty, when such a man is seen to mount the hobby horse of popularity, to join in the cry of danger to liberty, to take every opportunity of embarrassing the general government and to bring in it under suspicion, to flatter and fall in with all the nonsense of the zealots of the day, it may justly be suspected that his object is to throw things into confusion, that he may, quote, ride the storm and direct the whirlwind, unquote." And then, unquote. Alexander Hamilton, August the 18th, 1792. A friend did quote this quote the other day. Clever chap, that Alexander. The reference is obviously Trump, except advantage of military habits, considerable talents do not apply. But let me ask you, when do you know it is not you that are the people whose prejudices are excited, whose jealousies and apprehensions that throw affairs into confusion and bring on civil commotion, who are tired at length of anarchy or want of government, and may take shelter in the arms of monarchy for repose and security? The masses, the rabble, but not you. When I read the Constitution, this is what is written: a guidebook to control them, as if they were animals and a certain we, their indulgent owners. This might have been a wide streak during slavery. I heard a recent politician say we must protect the American people from social media, a thing of which the people are incapable without our paternal guidance. So I guess it really hasn't changed since Alexander Hamilton. It is clever, of course, convenient and all-encompassing. It allows us to feel that what Hamilton felt, what the Victorians felt, what Nancy Pelosi feels, and aristocrats back to Mesopotamia have felt, that this particular species are particularly susceptible to the Hannitys and the Trumps. And given the odiousness of these messengers, the unexamined stuff they put out, their listeners must be this stupid crew that could never be you. You ought to look around a little bit. Look at yourselves a bit. Now, I have no doubt there are a variety of capacities that make up the human community. We are obsessed with these measurings. But as soon as I find the mumbo-jumbo strangeness of religion hard to enjoy, I find it no easier trying to understand the babblings of the massively educated, the Hamiltons, who for all the delightful language is telling us that we, the gifted, must be wary of how susceptible the less gifted, less fortunate, altogether less than are. He says zealots, as if there were no zealots writing constitutions in Philadelphia ever. It's hardly a good place from which to found a democracy. Oh, I know they didn't. It is a very good place to found a republic. It is disappointing to me when a friend drops a cliche, when a politician does nothing but I find this way of expressing something absolutely universal. It isn't really about intellectual talent. It's about a sort of spiritual exuberance. What Hamilton is saying in his poesy is that you don't need a monarch, O sheep, you need us. And when he says this, he invalidates us. You ought to know you're doing this, and you don't. While I did think, watching the terrible assassination attempt and the interviews after, that these were not people I agreed with politically, I did feel closer to them than Alexander Hamilton. I imagined I might even argue with them about their absolutes, comparing theirs with mine without condescension. And as repetitive as church bells, I wonder at this great need Lord Shaftesbury and many of his friends have to divide the world into good and evil, gifted and stupid, high and low. It might be true, but it's such a boring place to live, and I refuse. I have never found it true, and I may have figured out why. In my life, it seems that the practice of expressing oneself as accurately and as fully as possible to be hugely rewarding. I'm not a person who fears public speaking more than death. Not because I think I'm good at it, but because I have practiced exploring the truth of what I feel for a long time. When I touch upon it, a bell goes off and a peace descends. And I know this is not a talent, it is a practice, it is a habit, it is only a habit. At that moment, over and over, I do not feel threatened. And the notion of the herd of zombies, Hamilton's fear, the stated fear of most Democrats, the people who use designations like deplorable, not realizing it describes no one but herself, them that needs all this to turn up in the morning are those I cannot even caucus with. Going forward, this constituency might give a thought that this culture they inhabit, that gives them their identity, this New York state of mind, this best and brightest they feel sure they belong to, is felt deeply by those who they deplore, as sure as racism destroys and colonialism makes terrorists. You will look at the world and designate whole religions as evil and uncivilized. I do it too, only it is all religions, not just theirs. They're all the same thing. Once over us and them, universal, once we acknowledge we all do tribalisms from the village green to Harvard Square, we might deconstruct Hamilton's narcissistic babble and be brave. Some years ago, I visited a pal on his farm. I was going to run it for a bit while he recovered from surgery. He walked me around the place the first day, telling me what needed doing. Today, I cannot remember exactly what he said, but I heard his boss tone. After half an hour, I said, "Don't talk to me like that." He was stunned. "What?" he said, totally unaware. He was not young. This was a lifetime's habit. And perhaps had I been acclimatized, had I been his wife, I'd have only felt an irritation instead of an overwhelming "stop that." There was a tyranny in it. His wife felt it too, but there was little she could do. I would rebel if I was subjected to the Hamiltonian. On the scales of war, I have an affinity with the colonized, who commit the acts the colonizer cannot forgive, calls terrorism, then drops bombs on Iraq for 8 years. That Hamiltonian mass. There are ways to combat what Trumpish. Discover him in yourself. There are ways to combat what is Trumpish. First, discover him in yourself, because there he is. Hamilton just creates more of him.